It's that time! Except on a Saturday. In this JPGivin'er analysis, I'll be analyzing Chad's gameplay from a 6v6 between We Elite Clan and Dynamite. This is another general analysis for the most part, but I talk about a few things I haven't talked about before as well. And don't worry, moving forward, I'll make sure the final 6 analysis videos come out on the next 6 Fridays. So without further ado, let's start giving her, bud. Just before getting started, I'd really appreciate it if you subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. I can guarantee you won't regret it. Also, make sure to leave a like if you enjoyed the video and leave a comment because I'll probably respond to it. Yeehaw, bud. Starting things off, we got Neo Bowser City. Chad plays this race fine for the most part, but there are a few instances where he really screws himself by making one mistake at a time. We're gonna make sure that doesn't happen again, or at least as often. And as always, when I say you, I'm most likely referring to Chad. Going into the last set, I can kind of understand why you would chain your shroom here. It's only one shroom, and you could possibly chain it to triple shrooms. The thing is, that's very unlikely given that you were in 5th, a placement where you can pull all kinds of items, considering how close you were to 1st. If you held your shroom and shroomed up, leading to more front presence on your team's end, maybe you wouldn't green the guy in front of you, but you also wouldn't green yourself. Also, just a general thing, try to limit your use of greens on turns like this, where they can come back to screw you over as well. But that's besides the point, because that all could have been prevented if you held your shroom, took the shortcut, and held a top spot for your team. In the long run, whether your team has the majority of top spots or not, that's generally the best thing you can do in this kind of situation. Considering your teammate got boomeranged and the boomerang came back to your opponent, perhaps using your star here wasn't a bad idea. But I think you maybe could have waited a bit longer before starring, especially since you took a bad line and starred your teammate as a result. I'm saying this because you had quite a bit of space in general, even after taking the turn unoptimally. Holding this star actually would have helped you out a lot for quite a few reasons, assuming you were able to get away from the boomerang and any other potential items your opponents had right behind you. You could have had a dodge and a top spot had your team pulled shock, and even so, you still have long-lasting protection going into the final stretch of the race. That in itself is a big deal, since you could have avoided getting breaded before the last set. So yeah, my point here is that you should try to avoid using items as a result of panicking, unless you have no other choice. You could have been set up much better by holding your star. Now, in combination with getting redded as a result of not holding your star, you also ran into your teammate's bomb. I'm not sure what your call was like, but either try to pay close attention to what your teammates are saying, or in your teammate's case, call out the bomb in advance. The red, the bomb, and eventually getting random greened in last. As unfortunate as that is, getting hit by 2 of these items was your fault, and getting hit by the other item resulted from you getting hit by the first 2 items. So moving forward, try not to be so careless with your items, specifically your star at the beginning of lap 3, as that could have been your ticket to maintaining a top spot. Next up is Twisted Mansion. This was honestly a really weird race for Chad, and out of my 4 talking points, only 2 of them are regarding his misplays. Regardless, let's see what happens. This was kind of unfortunate, but I think this goes to show that you should pay more attention to what's behind you. I know that you use your rear view quite a lot, which is a great starting point, but you need to prioritize quality over quantity rear view usage. What I mean by this is that you aren't looking behind you long enough to comprehend the items people have behind you. Maybe your opponent didn't have a red in their first slot, but let's be real. You would never know in real time since you didn't give yourself enough time to comprehend what items were behind you. Moving forward, instead of borderline mashing your rear view button in situations like this, try holding your rear view button for about a quarter to a half a second. It could help you a lot more than you think. Remember, quality rear view time over quantity rear view time. Now, you did nothing wrong here. In fact, it was awesome that you took advantage of your opponent not snagging the doubles from you, so you took it instead. But in case you didn't realize, this was a really bad play on your opponent's behalf. So in the future, if you're in a situation where you don't need a double box, but your opponents are right behind you, take the doubles anyways. I talked about this in a video a few months back. Being offensive on doubles can be really beneficial, especially since you pull triple shrooms and a boo as a result of your opponent not stealing the doubles. That's a pretty damn good pull. I'm gonna keep this part brief. You should not snake here. I know you're on Scooty, so naturally you want to edge out more mini turbos than usual, but you should be focused on not getting hit by back spam since you were at the back of the pack. Here's what you could have done instead. After shrooming as you did, drive straight, position yourself in the middle, then naturally curve to a path of your liking. You can't get backed easily in the middle here, so this is temporarily your safe zone. So yeah, sneaking into easy back spam spots is never a good thing, especially in a place like the pack. I won't deny it. This was pretty unlucky, and I don't know how beneficial it would be to take the bottom path since it's actually a lot slower. Now, I'm not sure if you had any chance of avoiding the bomb without screwing yourself, but let's look at the situation. The bomb was in your opponent's first slot, as you could barely see it before landing on the top path. Considering your opponent backed the bomb tight, perhaps you could drive on the wide side of the turn and barely avoid the bomb. Again, I'm not entirely sure if this would work, but it's worth trying instead of basically driving right into the explosion. If you ever find yourself in a situation like this moving forward, try to avoid the bomb in any way you can. If you could barely avoid this bomb, it would certainly help you finish in a better spot than 11th, but I guess we'll never truly know. Lastly, we have TikTok Clock. I think out of the 3 races showcased today, Chad could have played much better in this race in particular. That's a good thing though, since that's what we're here for, and we're getting started right now. Considering your team finished in bottom 3 in the previous race, you should have put more effort into pushing up early, since you could pull a shroom at first set and shroom on the straight before the first pendulum. I know you were eventually able to catch up, which was great, but that might not always be the case, and you could end up being stuck in the back for the entire race. Even here, your opponent eventually had a red behind you, and you were lucky enough for him not to throw his red at you when he had the chance. So moving forward, when your team is already in the back on a front heavy track, you should try your best to get into the front and maintain a top spot at all costs. It kind of sucks driving behind someone with a bomb since you either drive tight and risk getting hit or go out of your line and the guy with the bomb gets a really big lead. In this scenario though, since you were coming up to the first set, your opponent backing the bomb was a strong possibility. I think you could have easily taken the right path, thus playing it safe, and turned out just fine. In general, if someone has a bomb in front of you, expect it to be dropped a little before the next set since they likely have a coin in their pocket and they'll have more time to get another protection item. It's a tough situation, but you gotta protect yourself, so go wide. This is a scenario where the boomerang is a really good item to have. With your opponents behind you and you essentially having 4 protection items, you should have held your boomerang for sure. You definitely wouldn't have gotten double redded as you did here, and in the scenario where your opponent chained a red into the double box and got 2 more reds, you would still be fine. I'll leave it at that since the point here is pretty simple. You get 3 shots with the boomerang, so don't let them go to waste, especially with the other team behind you looking to break into your top spots. It's pretty clear here that stop trolling with the plant was a really bad idea, but generally in endgame situations like these, you should just focus on yourself and try to finish in the best spot you can. Besides, considering how laggy this section of the track is, it would not be in your opponent's best interest to red you while you are planting since you could lag back on their screen and hit them. Unless you're on a really wide section on the track, you likely won't have to worry about getting redded while planting, and even then, you'll likely take your opponent out with the plant if that's the case. So yeah, next time, do not stop troll with a plant. It's really only useful if you want to extend an existing lead that your team has. I hope you got something out of this video. If you did, I'd really appreciate it if you'd like the video and subscribe if you haven't already. As for Chad, I gave you quite a lot of ways you can step your game up today. I think your first steps towards improvement are focusing on the quality of your rear view usage, not being careless with the items you have, and avoiding backspams by staying away from easy backspam spots. Sounds simple, right? Either way, I wish you the best of luck moving forward. But until next time, thank you so much for watching. Have yourselves a fantastic day, and keep on giving her, bud.